Welcome back, fellow Spy fans. It's me, one of your hosts, Dave, and I'm here with Todd.
Hello.
And we are talking about Turn Season 1, Episode 10, the final episode of Season 1, still on our TV show format. Yeah, there's like this major raid that just kind of happens in this episode. So I think, Todd, if you want to just give us a quick catch up so we can maybe talk about the raid.
Stuff that's happened since we talked about episode 6. Robert Rogers, our favorite Scottish frontiersman. I'm not sure what the guerrilla fighter. He arranged, he's still got a boner for Ben. And one of his ideas was to visit the prison ship, the Jersey, to basically bail out Ben's brother, Samuel. And then I guess like jump on Ben at the prisoner exchange. Something like that. He finds out Samuel was dead. But so he goes for like the next best thing, like who did Samuel talk to the most? Turns out to be Selah Strong, who we haven't seen since I think episode 1. That's Anna's husband.
And she thought he was dead, I think.
Uh-huh. She is only gonna find out that he's alive in this episode, in number 10. So he says, I don't know, next best thing, I'll pop this guy out and say that he's Samuel Talmadge, and again be there for the prisoner exchange. I don't know if you had any thoughts on how this played out, or I mean, it's a I would call it, I think it could fall under the umbrella of tradecraft.
Yeah, it was a trick to try and provoke Talmadge, from what I understand. If he told him, "Oh yeah, we got your brother here, and we're gonna trade him," and then it's not him, and so they got him out for like a little surprise. So there's some deception going on. Yeah,
Right. I mean, I guess the thinking of, if I, because when they're doing the transfer, Selah says, "I am Samuel Talmadge." So clearly he was like briefed to say that. And I'm not sure exactly how that happened, except I guess if someone's bailing you out and says all you need to do to get across this line is say that you're this guy and not who you really are. But we weren't privy to that scene, so I'm not sure who it was that told Selah to maintain this fiction. And I'm also okay, but I understand why I picked Selah, because Selah could, since they both came from the same town, he could answer all of the questions that might be put to him, right? Because if you're picking a guy to pretend to be a guy from Sawtucket, your best pick is, hey, there's this other guy from Sawtucket.
Oh, I see what you mean. Like he wouldn't learn like the deep dark secrets of the person himself, but he's from the area and knows everybody, so he would know enough to kind of fake it.
Right. And then, but Rogers is surprised that Ben didn't show up at the exchange. We're going into a lot of detail about something that didn't even happen in episode 10, but there's not a lot of tradecraft in episode 10. Spoiler alert. So I just, and then once he saw that Selah and Caleb clearly knew each other, he takes a shot. It looks like he's trying to kill Selah, and I just got really confused as what that was about. It kind of broke down for me there.
Right.
I don't know if you had a chance to put any thought into that. Probably not, because we only prepared for this episode. But that's what's going on with Rogers and Selah. Relatively minor characters in the show, although I think Selah's stock is rising now that he's coming back into the story. Anna and Abe have been working together in New York and finding even more juicy information. This is Something I think I want to talk about in the recapping of the season. Like, this is Abe again on full spy mode, which I really feel like he waffles back and forth a lot in the season. But at this point, at least leading up to now, he's in full spy mode. He's actively going to New York. He's actively recruiting Anna Strong to pose to be his wife. They're sneaking into parties that they shouldn't be in. They're getting help and advice from is it Annabelle? The black slave, well, now freed slave, but apparently not completely free because they can still tell her where to go. you know,
Right.
I'm a little confused by that, but they're all working together. And the main thing that's happened there is that they managed to get a cipher key from General Andre or Major Andre, I forget. But John Andre, they've gotten a cipher key from his papers, which Abe passes to Caleb and Ben. Ben uses that cipher to go ahead and look at previous messages that they've received that they weren't able to decode, and now they can see that they are decodable using the cipher, and that gives them a lot of good information on where the Redcoat Army divisions are moving. Again, I'm not sure if division is the right term.
Right.
What's just I need a generic term for a large ball of armed men.
Platoon. Would
No,
that
I
be
think
right?
platoon is specific. I think I'm gonna go with division.
Okay.
At the very least, just at the core of the word, it connotes, a set piece of your army, and not
Mhm.
like the whole thing. So that's what they've been doing. Now, Simcoe has made his way back to, again, through a prisoner exchange, which I think we did talk about in episode 6, is how he made his way back to his post in Setauket, something like that, where he has been very busy framing the fuck out of all the pro-continental townsfolk. Do you want to take this one? Do you have stuff on this?
On the exchange? Or...
No, Simcoe's all of Simcoe's like faking assassinations, poisoning Hewlett's horse to make it look like someone was attempting to poison Hewlett. That was dastardly.
Oh, I told you that's why I wanted you to kind of help us catch up because I haven't seen season 1 for 2 years. So I haven't seen that part, but I do vaguely remember what you're talking about. And Simcoe is like super, super psychopath, sociopath. Like to him, like there is no like diplomacy in his makeup, I guess. He's just kind of like a raw, like means to an end type of guy. And when I say raw means to an end, I mean like brutal means to an end. And we're going to discuss a little bit about what he accomplishes in episode 10. But
Okay.
yes, he doesn't agree with Simcoe, or Simcoe doesn't agree with Major Hewlett's kind of military stratagem and tactics, I guess is the way you would like ideologically they're like diametrically opposed, like Hewlett is a very he's a likable character. Like even if like you're gonna watch this show and be like rah rah America, like you like Hewlett. He's a noble guy. He's an honorable man. He's all about the civil approach to warfare. He's not the type to go against his word. Versus Simcoe is just like we discussed in episode 6 when Simcoe realizes that guy is like a liar in front of John Andre, stabs the guy. He doesn't even piece together, oh, this guy could give us valuable information, while Andre is like caressing and like massaging
Uh-huh.
the
Yeah.
situation to possibly flip him in the future. And Simcoe's just like, traitor, boom, he's dead. I solved the problem, Andre. When do I get my like recognition? Where's my medal? like, so Simcoe just does crazy ass shit to kind of usurp Hewlett. And
Oh
like
yeah.
you
And
mentioned,
it's
he poisoned the horse. Like, yeah,
right.
it's creepy.
Yeah. Just if we didn't know yet then I think the poisoning the horse is really when he like sails around the bend of like, oh yeah, we're never, this guy's unredeemable, for sure. But yeah, Hewlett is a really cool character, and in a
Yeah.
way where he didn't come off as likable at first at all.
Right.
And he's mostly unlikable, but he just, over the time that you watch him, you know, he actually does value friendship. He does value honor. He believes in his cause. And, you know, I think one of the best lines, you know, like when he's, you know, we're going to get to this, I guess, in episode 10, but in episode 10 is like when he's like, this conflict will be conducted in a civil manner. You know, he's very emphatic about this. Like,
Yeah.
we're not, we're not animals here.
Yeah.
There are rules.
Yeah.
Very fucking redcoat British ish kind of dude.
Hmm.
Yeah, he just keeps growing on me. And I hope he sticks around for as many seasons as the story can support. Um, Mary has found Abe's spy notebook.
That Mary's Woodhull's wife.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and of course, she found that because he basically showed it to his little boy, which kind of reminded me of the night manager uh, part where let's see, what's the actor's name? The bad guy in Night Manager?
Uh, Hugh Laurie.
Right. So Hugh Laurie's character has a secret office, and what he does to tell his kid to stay out, or he tells his kid that the office, you know, which is locked all the time, is like full of candy, which I mentioned in that episode. Like, that's the worst way to keep your kid out of
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
office. You know, you should tell him it's full of monsters.
Yeah.
So yeah, so Abe fucked up by showing his, you know, but you know, I don't know, his baby was crying or something. He wanted to show him something shiny, so he showed him the little hidey hole, where he, you know, showed him some gold coins that are in there, and but that's also where he keeps his pistol and his code book, which Mary has now found. Um, Obviously, that's going to go places. That is pretty much everything that I can think of, the, you know, of what's going on with our characters leading up into.
Well, one thing
Mhm.
we definitely need to talk about real quick. Uh, we're gonna there. I forgot how this played out, and take over when if you can chime in to help. But the raid is happening because Talmadge's father and I think Caleb's uncle have been taken prisoner among other members of or citizens of Sawtucket because it was discovered that a number of them might be traitors. And
And how was this discovered? I forgot to mention when we mentioned like what's been going on with Simcoe.
mhm,
Remember, during his captivity, with Ben and Caleb, they foolishly let him know who they were. So he knows who their families are. And this is
mhm,
a vindictive man. And
yep,
he figures, he definitely is the kind of guy that thinks like, well, if if this member of you know, the Talmadge family is a quote unquote traitor, then the rest of them must be as well. And the same thing with I forget Caleb's last name escapes me right now, but
Brewster,
those, huh?
Caleb Brewster,
Yes. And so that's why he's going about trying to frame the members of that family, of those families
right?
and their
And
friends.
yeah, there's, I don't know, maybe like 10 or 11 or 12 that Simcoe wanted to execute or something. And then Woodhull, who I guess is on his way becoming a magistrate and kind of an attorney ish, like his dad, who's very diplomatic, very political, very good at, what you call it, discourse, maybe. And so Abe is able to convince Hewlett, because Hewlett is a man you can appeal to, like as opposed to Simcoe, to what's that word when you move someone's sentence over somewhere? Fuck, I forgot the name of the word.
Oh,
Um,
commute.
Commute. Yeah, he commutes the sentence to Jersey, which is where Selah Strong was on that boat, and they all thought that he was dead. So Talmadge wants to go and get these prisoners, and this is what leads up to the raid. Um, I think that's about it to catch us up, right?
Yeah, I do. I guess I forget how it was exactly that Ben and, well, I guess maybe it was a regular message from Abe or something, but I forget exactly how Ben and Caleb found out about Simca's witch hunt. Um,
Yeah,
but
I don't think they knew that the sentence was commuted yet. They thought that they were going to be executed, and
well,
Abe had
no,
to tell them.
right. But either way, at some point it's brought up that because, Ben's brother, Samuel, who we never saw, we never met him in the season, but we know that he died on the Jersey, and they've not seen the Jersey, but to them that tells them that, like, uh the sentence of 10 years to a prison ship isn't a sentence of 10 years, it is a death sentence, or at least that's the way they are interpreting it, based
Right.
on the fact that Samuel died there. And well, now they know, because they have Sela in uh in tow with them,
Yeah.
and so he can
Among their
describe.
ranks.
Right. So he can describe to them that, yeah, the Jersey is, it's not a prison. It's a place people go to die.
Right. So so I guess we're caught up. So this episode's about a raid onto Pawtucket. The Continental Army, or at least the ranks under Talmadge, are going to raid Pawtucket to try and get the prisoners back. Um, and we start out they're kind of sneaking up on, and one thing I wanted to point out, I'm not sure if you caught this or if maybe I'm misunderstanding. Caleb spots two dudes that are like just fishermen, and he's about to go kill them. And Thomas is like, wait. And he's like, they're just fishermen. But he runs up to go beat him up, and he's like, hi, Bill, how you doing? So he obviously knew them. So I'm wondering if they were scouts posing as fishermen. And that's kind of why I wanted to point that out real quick. Like, do you think they were actually fishermen or were they were like scouts?
No, I think that was just a man and his son going out fishing, and they just ran into some bad luck.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, if they were scouts posing as fishermen, that would have been plus by points, but it was just some dudes. um, but they land on the island. They're not able to stop the hanging of one man. I'm not sure who he is, but I guess it's like a statement because
Oh, I
the
know. I can tell you who that guy is.
the first one.
Yes.
Okay.
Um the okay, so all of Simcoe's weird, like, I mean, he faked an assassination attempt on Abe's dad,
Yeah.
um in a way that would frame the preacher, who is Ben's father, kind of
Uh-huh.
stuff. He's done a lot of super shady stuff. And that has got the there's a certain group of people that are, I mean, they are pro continental, but you have to make a distinction here between, like, I mean, there's people that are, just because you're pro continental, which means pro, team blue,
Right.
pro USA and anti British, that doesn't mean that you're a fucking terrorist or an assassin, or that you're
Right.
actively, I mean, you're and this is, I've been brought up a few times in the show in nice ways that weren't like overstated in the way they could have been, but like, it's allowed to have a fucking opinion, you know
Right. Right. Right.
just because you have an opinion about the current regime doesn't mean you should be hung, you know
This, this is actually something I've been meaning to talk about in this show, and I'm glad we got to talk about it at the end of season one.
Okay.
Um, as much as I love this show, there were some moments that made me feel like I was watching those like shows you watch, like those like special videos in history class where they like reenact shit like in like Revolution or Civil War times or something, and they like overtly like force stuff. And I feel like it's not super forced, but it's like a little bit. There's these little like I don't know what would you call them, like seeds being planted or little foreshadowings being planted of like this is why we have the amendments, like free speech, like right to privacy, like you are not allowed to quarter my house during peacetime
Oh,
because
hey,
like
hey,
Coach,
that's a good one. This show does demonstrate like why we have that amendment.
and that's kind of what like I feel that was about. There's a lot of little moments like that, like where it's just like trying to punch you in the face with, "Hey, this is why America has these amendments," you know, and I think a lot of it's done well, especially the free speech
Okay, so
stuff.
wait. You just said punch you in the face. You're talking about those history class things, not this show, right?
Well, what I'm saying is this show does that, but not in like a cheesy way, like in history class. But it's still there. You know what I mean? Like they'll
Good.
shoehorn it in. Like
Right. Okay.
it's like, by the way, like here's this really cool awesome spy story we're watching and it's historical, but hey, by the way, in case you didn't know, like here's that battle, by the way, in case you didn't know, this is why we have free speech, you know, like and I'm not saying it's done in a cheesy way like those history class videos, but there's a lot of times where I'm reminded of those moments where I'm in history class and it's like video day, and you're watching like the Civil War reenactment and everything is just like everybody like always knew how to say the most amazing thing right then and there, you know,
Oh, right.
and
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, and they just beat you over the head with like this is the what we're trying to get to, you know. So I'm not saying it's like cheesy. I'm just saying like there's a lot of moments like that where it's just like kind of
Well,
shoved in there.
yeah, I would say it's done deftly. And in a way that, there are some moments where if you're paying attention, like we're being reminded what the stakes of the conflict are, what
Right.
what this is really about, besides being about, tea and cotton.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
And what a
if
2% raise in taxes? Wasn't it like 3% income tax or something? I forgot what it was,
I don't
but
know.
like, but the
I don't
taxation
know.
without representation, like I found out when I was older, was it was like 3% or some shit.
Right.
Now, I mean, granted, I mean the economics was way different back then, so 3% back then could have been like your livelihood, but still, like it's like we're arguing over like the difference between 20% and like 40%, and possibly higher wealthy people paying like 70% these days. And like the revolution was literally fought over like 3 or 4% taxes or something. Like that was the catalyst, you know. But sorry,
what
we were
what else?
talking about the free speech. You were talking
Oh,
about
well,
having an opinion.
actually, I wanted to, like, from what you're talking about and just the way the show handles like the two factions and talking about like what's at stake kind of stuff. There was one really interesting thing that came up in a previous episode, which kind of blew my mind a little bit, and I've been chewing on, kind of in the background, was that, slavery was not legal, had been outlawed in Britain at this time.
Oh wow!
Yeah, Hewlett brings this up. There's the episode where Caleb's or no, Selah's slaves are being released. And they really underplay slavery in the show, in a way which I don't want to super delve into, but like, I mean, even Ben, a fucking cabbage farmer, he's got like two black guys working for him, which,
We're talking about Abe. You said Ben.
I'm sorry, I meant Abe. Yeah,
Yeah, Woodhull. Yeah,
right. It looks like he's got a pair of slaves.
right.
But this show is not about slavery, but the interesting thing I wanted to bring up is that, it made me, well, okay, so the slaves get released from slavery, but they don't exactly just go scot free, like do whatever the fuck you want. Here's 40 acres and a mule kind of
Right.
thing. It's more like, well, all the men are going to go into military service, and after like X amount of military service, they'll be free.
Uh huh.
And I don't know, like the women, like Abigail, I forget her exact name, but Selah and Anna Strong's housemaiden has, even though now she's free, still the powers that be just get to dictate, well, now you're free, you're basically free to be General Andres. house servant in New York. Woohoo.
I think they're trying to play her as Agent 355, who was a famous woman spy. I don't think it's confirmed that it was her, but I think the show makes it her.
Right. And I appreciate, I mean, I like the I like the moves the show does. I mean, it is an overwhelmingly white show. I actually do kind of appreciate the at least nods they make to try to bring some people of color
Mhm.
into the mix. But what I'm trying to get at is, you know, because Hewlett said like, well, slavery's already been outlawed in Britain, and I'm sure it's soon to be outlawed in the colonies. What's blowing my mind here is the idea that if we had lost the revolution, slavery, like if the United States had not become free of Britain, it's entirely possible that slavery would have been outlawed in this country decades before it was.
Right.
That's a mind fuck to me.
Yeah. Isn't that interesting?
Because, you know, because I'm grown up, I'm brought up to always think of like the British of this time as just the enemy, and this little note of being reminded like on this one very fucking important point they were actually more progressive, and things might have turned out a lot better for black people in this country if we hadn't won the revolution, at least in the short term. I mean, after that, you got a whole fucking different, like you're in an entirely different historical paradigm, and who knows where that goes, right?
Right. Yeah. It's there's a lot of like really broad concepts that are brought up in the show that are interesting like that, and I'm glad you pointed that out because I completely forgot about that. um, but yeah, uh, but I think you were talking about the idea that the prisoners that the raid is happening because of they weren't like exactly rebels. They just didn't.
Ex-
They weren't loyalists.
exactly. And I remember, okay, you just reminded me exactly where I departed. You were saying you didn't know who it was that got hung.
Oh yeah, yeah,
And
that's right.
I
The first guy.
and
Yeah.
I do. So
Okay.
this goes back to, again, Simcoe just thinks anyone that is pro continental must be a traitor. And if you don't have evidence that they're a traitor to the crown, then you manufacture it and fucking kill them, which
And
is,
that's what Simcoe did.
yes.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Good.
But no, but these people did have, you know, the people he's after, it's not like he was just targeting random people. These are people that do have pro continental leanings, and they're getting freaked out by this witch hunt of Simcoe's. And what it so happens that a whole bunch of them signed a petition at some point in the past to nominate Sela Strong to the Continental Congress. Basically, they were signing a paper that said,
Oh.
okay, so this is sometime in the past, but there's a piece of paper. They refer to it as the petition in the show. There's a piece of paper that has like 20, 25 people's names on it or something like that, that does say that we, you know, before you guys showed up, we signed a piece of paper that said we didn't want you guys to show up and we wanted to be on Team Blue.
Right.
And so one of the people on that list is freaked out enough that he brings that petition to Hewlett. He's doing that. He's basically, you know, showing his belly. You know, he's saying like, don't kill me. I'm the good guy that I will tell you who all the other conspirators are, because he's so fucking afraid of Simcoe's brutality,
Uh-huh.
even though like they've done nothing illegal, but this
Mhm.
looks bad.
Yeah.
And in light of, when you combine the petition with Simcoe's list of people that he is framing as traitors, and those lists match up, it looks really bad. And so that's
Right.
really why, like, you know, this is all going down. Anyways, the guy that gets hung, you know, in what do you call it? Like the universe just showing some justice or whatever in a dramatic fashion. Like the
Uh,
first guy they string up is the guy that was turning over.
oh, that
Uh,
threw everybody under the bus. Oh, that's right. Because
yeah,
he says before he gets hung, like I brought the info to you. That's right. Okay, okay. That's like the little, uh, you know, you get what you put. You reap what you sow type of thing.
poetic justice. I think
Yeah.
that's the term we're looking for.
Okay.
Um,
Um,
but it's just as they've hung that guy and they're about to hang the second guy is when Ben's Continental Division shows up and they all start shooting and uh,
they
the
don't take the whole town. They take most of the town, but they don't take the church, which I think is called Whitehall, right?
mm-mm. Whitehall is the name of the estate is the name of Ben's dad's estate.
Or Abe's dad's.
Thank you.
The magistrate's estate. Um, so the you,
I managed to get a little further into my beer supply than I usually do before starting to record.
oh, no problem. No problem. So that's where we're starting. Is they've raided the beach, they've taken the town, they don't have the church, and they don't have Whitehall. Um, the Redcoat Army under Hewlett's command has taken those prisoners that they were supposed to commute the sentence to Jersey, but Simcoe wanted to hang. The Continental Army has taken some redcoats prisoner in the tavern that was owned by Silas Strong at one point.
Uh-huh.
There's like a whole. There's another thing that I was talking about where like right to property and this and whatever. Um, the one thing I really liked. So that's what we're staying. There's like kind of a standoff. There actually isn't a battle in this episode. There's like a little bit. There's like what do you call it, skirmishes? They're shooting at each other for a couple times, but I wouldn't really call this a battle, right? Even though the show's called the battles. Well, I guess it's a spy battle. And I think this little tidbit I wanted to talk about. I wanted to hear what you thought. Um, the standoff right now. The Redcoat Army is holding down the church, has the prisoners in. The Continental Army is holding most of the town, and the Redcoats in the tavern. They tried to raid the military stock and get powder, but Hewlett, in his uh, very smart strategy, shot down the storehouse. So now there's like a serious standoff. The Redcoats are waiting for backup. There's supposed to be like a giant ship showing up with reinforcements. And in the tavern, Mary, who's Abe's wife, says, "Say something," because there's like a little tussle between Selah and the new owner of the tavern and all that stuff. And Abe gives this big speech talking shit to Ben. Meanwhile, Ben and Abe are working together because Abe is the spy for Ben, and Abe's like, "Look, you're not going to take that barricade down. You're just going to get all these great people killed." And Ben's like, "Oh, is that your wife and kid?" He's like, "Hi, Mrs. Woodhull. I remember your husband being less talkative."
I want to
It
men-
is.
I want to just underline something is this is the first time in the series that Ben and Abe have shared the screen.
Oh, that's right. They haven't seen each other in like years
Right.
since like Ben fled and joined the Continental Army. Um,
It was
that's a
before
that's a.
Thomas was born.
Oh, yeah,
It's been a
that's
lot of
right.
years.
Yeah. Um, but the thing is Abe didn't know about the raid. They got info somehow about the prisoners and brought the raid, and so Abe not only is kind of faking an argument to look like he's a loyalist, but he's also kind of like, "Fuck you, like what is going on? Like I already handled shit here. What the fuck?" But I wanted to point that out as mad plus spy points is Abe putting on this big performance of like, "Fuck you, what the fuck, like you shouldn't have come in here, you're just gonna get us killed, we got women and children, like what are you doing?" And so I don't know, what do you thought? Oh, and Caleb is I
Uh-huh.
think they
Yeah.
decided they're going to use Abe
Uh-huh.
as to be the white flag, to deliver the terms to the redcoats of what their terms were, so people don't start dying. There's so much that like really works in this because like not only is Abe promoting himself as a loyalist, and talking shit. But they used Ben and Caleb immediately used this opportunity as using their guy to get in there to get immediate reconnaissance info of what's going on at the church. And I really liked. So I don't know. What did you think about that?
It's
I,
good.
I, I fucking loved it.
It's solid. It's solid werewolf. And
Yeah.
in an episode that doesn't have a bunch of tradecraft, it should be noted. They have to maintain the fiction that they haven't, been collaborating with each other.
Right.
They do it great, and picking Abe as the guy that's going to negotiate with Hewlett is a good excuse for them to, drag him away from all the other townsfolk so they can talk in private. And Caleb even throws in the extra, fucking gut punch Abe on the way out and really make it look like they're dragging him off to, rough him up and rawr, fuck you. But that's, they all end up in the cellar. Anna, Ben, Caleb, and Abe. Who did I miss? I'm doing so bad on names
Anna,
today.
yeah, it was Anna, Caleb, Ben, and Anna. And well, this is also something good to talk about. Ben didn't tell Anna her husband was alive. This is the first time she's seen it. Like, there's like a cool little shot where Sailor shows up and shoots the sign of the tavern that was his tavern, just fucking all manly, like walks up and kisses his wife, but she had no idea. She thought her husband was dead. So Ben claims that he made the decision not to tell Anna. And what do you think? Like, what do you think the purpose of that was? Do you think that was just like for like the cinematic like story like
This is
reasons, or
this
do you think?
this is what I have on that. Amongst all the really good tradecraft in this show, there's also a certain helping of just fucking soap opera secret sharing.
Mhm.
And in this scene, when we finally got the four of them in one room together, which
Mhm.
hasn't happened before, these are
Right.
basically our four heroes.
Right.
And they've all had, I don't think, also Anna hasn't shared the screen with Ben at all. She's had interaction, they've each had interactions with each other and had the cutouts, between them. But this is finally the first time all four of us, uh, main heroes are in the same room, and some secrets are coming out, and some of these secrets are not necessarily like tradecraft related. They're just kind of soap opera stuff, which I
Yeah.
don't mind. I mean, it's good. I feel like it's important. I like tradecraft obviously in a movie, but if I don't care about the people as human beings, then sometimes I get that effect of what was it? Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, the tradecraft is great. Do I care about those characters? Not really.
Yeah.
On a
Right.
human level, this show has both, and I think it has it in
Yeah.
the right proportions, and that's why I love it personally.
By the way, definitely don't forget to check out our episode of Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy that we did uh almost a year ago. Wow, we've been doing this for 2 years. Wow.
We have.
Wow. Um
We
anyway,
started we started work in we started work in October
that's right.
of 2 years ago. We didn't actually publish anything
Publish.
we had until like I think the beginning of February.
Wow, I can't believe time flies this. Wow. Uh, well, aside from that, another thing I wanted to point out about that conversation is, Ben tries to tell Abe what to do. Ben's like an officer in the military.
Uh-huh.
Abe is still a civilian, and I wanted to point out, back in episode 6 when we were talking about General, Dickface, that was just like, no, scouts, always use scouts. It's tried and true type of game. He did make the point that you shouldn't use civilians because they're not military. They don't have a regimen. They're unreliable type. This is a good example. Even though Abe is right in this, I just wanted to kind of check that box off that, the show is really kind of covering a lot of different bases. When you're dealing with a civilian agent, they're not military. They're not bound by anything to give orders. And Abe was like, fucking, I'm not in the military. I don't take orders from you. And right now, shit is hit the fan. I'm going to be the one giving the orders now. And I really like that. It's a very, rah, yeah, fuck you. Like this is the situation that you just like created. I'm going to fucking fix it. But on the other side, I did want to kind of like just check the box off. Like this is one argument you could say about using civilian agents is that they aren't bound by anything, unless you're going to do what typical like agencies will do is where you start using like leverage on them to keep them in check, which is kind of shitty. But
I think that's my cue to come in and throw out a minor complaint to have about the show. You know, Abe has gone back and forth from fuck this, I'm not doing this anymore, to fuck this, I'm definitely doing this. Like maybe one too many times at this point.
Yeah.
I appreciate that he's our character, like above everyone else in the show. He's our character of being on the knife edge of conscience, and it's so appropriate that he's the son of a magistrate,
Right.
and that he's studied the law, and he has family roots. He's a great character to be this kind of guy. And from that little one article I read about the historical accuracy of this does correctly reflect Abe Woodhull. Did I get the name right this time?
Yes.
As a historical character, he did waffle a bit. But they're down in the cellar, and he's like, I'm out. And then 10 seconds later, like, he's back in.
Yeah.
And after he negotiates the prisoner release, which is, and okay, we'll get to that. Then he's back on board. He's just like, hey, just tell him I'm not gonna be Culpepper anymore. I'm gonna be Culper.
Yeah, Samuel Culper. I'm not signing the letters any other way,
Right. And that felt like something. Let's see. I've mentioned several times about this show is like I love it so much. I feel very immersed and very rarely feel like it's a history lesson. But this little moment, I'm like, Culpepper to Culper, why do I give a shit? Like as an audience member, like this it doesn't add anything to the story. I almost guarantee you there's going to be no moment where the fact that he changed his code name from Culpepper to Culper is going to have like an impact on the plot.
Right.
But it's probably just something that happened to happen in history, that they started out by calling him Culpepper and then it got changed to Culper. And this is like maybe just a fucking little jack off to history nerds that know this shit. Right. And they're like, ooh, check it out. Oh, they knew about that little detail. Well, I don't know about that little detail. And if it doesn't matter to the story or the plot, then just leave it out. He just should have been Culper in the first place. That's my feeling on that. And again, like it's time for Abe to pick a fucking side. It really is.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of sides, he goes with the white flag to talk to Hewlett, and there's some cool politicking going on with the magistrate, his dad, and Hewlett and himself, and of course Simcoe has to put his fucking word in. Abe brings up they're not trying to take the town because Hewlett is like, I am in charge of this town. I have sworn to defend it. I am not letting him take it over. Abe's like, no, they just want the prisoners. Just give them the prisoners. They'll give you the redcoats, and they'll be on their merry way. That's all this is. Simcoe jumps in like the bloodthirsty, no, this shows weakness. These guys are lying. This is a fool. They have the advantage right now. They're just trying to get out because of reinforcements are coming. And they're like, well, what do you want to do? And he's just force them to bring in the assault, and we'll slaughter them with cannons and bullets. And fucking Simcoe grabs was that Caleb's uncle? That was Caleb's uncle.
The old guy, the oldest of the supposed
Yeah,
conspirators. Yeah, that was his uncle.
and he's kind of like a little bit of a beloved character throughout the story up until now, and so this is like a big deal. Simcoe just runs out, grabs the dude, pulls him out of the church, fucking shoots him right in the neck, right in front of Ben and like the whole army, and just screams like, like he's just like, letting him know like we're not fucking around here. Come fucking get us. He's gonna force the charge, even though Hewlett directly ordered him not to. So there's we were talking about like Simcoe's just like non-capacity to like be diplomatic or strategic. He's just like, no, fuck this. We're gonna fucking kill these fuckers. And that does set up. When did they start shooting?
Now, to be fair, real quick, to be fair, a little bit fair to Simcoe, even though he's a natural born sociopath, I
Yeah.
mean, he was captured and brutally treated in a very
Yes.
illegal fashion by
Right.
members of these families that he's trying to enact his vengeance upon. So just that little note that he's not he's in even as a villain and as a very horrible person, he's not entirely out of his mind just wanting to kill people.
Yeah.
He's got a cause for vengeance here.
That's true. I do think we left out. There was a little bit of a skirmish earlier that I wanted to point out because we were talking earlier about Simcoe's like strategic ideology. Prior to this interchange, they started shooting at the church. He had all of the soldiers pull up the prisoners and put them in the windows to stop that. I think it was Cella Strong that like flanked them. They snuck out and then flanked them from the side. Um, just so you know, like this is the type of guy that Simcoe is. He's like, all right, pull the prisoners up to the windows. If they want to shoot, they can just kill the prisoners, which is what I wanted to do anyway. You know, like so that's he's very Machiavellian. Like I'm gonna force you to make decisions, and it's up to you. And whatever decision you make, I'm just gonna do whatever I do, regardless. Um, but
I want to be a real pedant for a second.
okay,
The flanking maneuver was described as Sela being able to get a position that had higher ground
oh yeah,
over the church, but when he attacks, by the way, it doesn't.
yes, yeah, not
They're
at all.
attacking from slightly lower ground.
Yeah.
Um, but that actually points out a cool thing that I wanted to mention about like just the geography of the town.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know, but something tells me, like, I just believe in my heart. Like, it's like knowledge I think I have, and I don't know where I picked it up from. But you know where you put the church in a town like this? You put it up fucking high. You put it up on the highest hill
Right.
so that all the town can see that God is there for them and
Right.
watching over them. And that's the reason that the church was taken over by Hewlett as his fortified position, because also it has a view of the entire town. So just, I mean, that little note feels good. And also, like, by the time we get to this episode, without I don't think I could draw you a map of the town of Setauket, but there's something to be said about feeling like you basically know where shit is in relationship to other shit
Hmm.
when you're gonna have an episode like this.
Yeah.
And I just want to give a little clap to the show of like, by this time I feel like I wouldn't, if you dropped me in Setauket, I don't feel like I would be lost.
Oh yeah. No, they definitely helped. But yeah, you're right. They were on lower ground, and then Silas Strong also was like, "Oh, I can sneak from the back," and then you see, and there's just like three trees and some bushes, but the rest is like open field.
Yeah, how
How the
did they
fuck
get
is he
there?
gonna
How did they get
sneak?
there without being noticed?
Yeah, like you got a fuckload of soldiers, and then they keep showing Hewlett with his fucking telescope. Like I love the way he pulls out his telescope and looks. It's very like flamboyant and proper and like fancy. He just like pulls it out very like elegantly to look in his You know,
I always love a fucking two generals looking at each other through telescopes
oh yeah,
moment. And this show had one,
yeah.
I'm busting out my telescope. I'm looking at you, motherfucker. I'm looking at you. And then the other guy that you see with your little eye is like,
Uh,
oh, I'm gonna bust out my telescope. Oh, I see you too, motherfucker.
yeah, that's pretty good.
I love it.
Well, anyway, Hewlett orders the men to, arrest Simcoe for fucking like blatantly disobeying orders and just fucking around. And at that point, the magistrate convinces Hewlett to let the prisoners go unconditionally. And Hewlett, there's a little back and forth, but the idea is that if you let them go unconditionally, the Reverend, who is Ben's Talmadge's dad, can convince him to just leave. Just there's no reason for further bloodshed. Just fucking give him the shit. That happens. The redcoats that were prisoner were released. They get on their boats, and this is kind of cool. I'm sure this is for the story, but it was also kind of cool. Anna jumps out of the boat, and I'm not sure if the show wanted the story to be Anna jumps out because she wants to be with Abraham, but her words are, "The cause needs me here." And she jumps out of the boat and starts swimming back. Hewlett sees her, tells his men to stop shooting, and tells him to go get her. And the idea is that she is escaping the rebels. This really, really solidifies her position as a loyalist, quote unquote. You know what I mean? And
It does.
I wanted to give mad love to Anna as a lady spy here, like really understanding, like, I can jump the boat. I'm escaping the rebels. I will be appreciated as someone that ran from the rebels because they were trying to take me captive, and I want to stay in my home, Setauket, and I'm all for the crown. So I really like that. I don't know.
So what I'll say is that, like, I want to give Spy points because, I mean, she definitely earns some great tradecraft dividends from that
Yeah,
move. But
right.
I just watched that episode like right before we started recording.
Uh
And to me, the way it's shot, it's so clear to me that her decision is more about wanting to
Abe.
get back to that sweet Abraham Woodhull dick.
Right?
And I mean, if you watch the way it plays out, one way or the other, like, that's got to be the way Silas sees it. Like,
Oh yeah.
whatever her motivation is, and
Uh
I think I know, or at least I think I
yeah.
know what the editing of the show wanted me to think.
Yeah.
There's no way Sela can see this any other way. If he's watching the same show I'm watching.
Right. And they show him stand up watching her, and then they like Abe and Anna kind of not really embrace, but they get a little close, and they have that like look like I'm about to make out with you. So
Yeah, they
yeah,
get real close. They're fucking each other in their minds.
yeah,
Is what's going on there, I think.
yeah. Um, so the raid's concluded. They leave. There is a moment where Mary starts burning the book because again, Abe and Mary didn't know about the raid, and she had found the book before, and she was like, had I know they were going to come out here, be a danger to my family, because all she cares about is family, and they make that very clear. It's not she's a loyalist, it's not she's a rebel, she just gives a fuck about her family. Her husband's been fucking around with Anna, because they were like childhood sweethearts and shit. So but I really wanted to talk about this scene because I want to give credit to Mary where credit is due with good tradecraft, because as they start arguing, it's obvious what they're arguing about. And there's a guy that had court in their place, Mr. Baker. And prior to this episode, you're not going to see this in this episode, but prior episodes, he's an awesome guy. Like, we've already seen the asshole soldiers that are quartered, that they're just like there and like, yeah, I'm here. What are you going to do about it? Like, give me your fucking mutton and, a barrel of ale or some shit. No, Mr. Baker is like, he treats them as hosts of him being their guest. And he's like a good guy. You know what I mean? But he overhears the argument, realizes that, holy shit, Abe's a spy, tells Mary to step aside. He's about to take him. Abe grabs a pistol. And this is a really, really emotional moment because Abe and Mary really like Mr. Baker, and Mr. Baker really likes Abe and Mary. And Abe is in a situation like, fuck, my cover's blown. And he's like, dude, you don't have to do this. It's a little standoff. He's like, look, you might be a traitor, but I'm not a traitor.
It's been brought up
Uh,
so many times. It's been brought up so many times that Abe has never killed anyone. He's been accused of murder a few
uh-huh,
times, and he's made this very serious point. And other characters about him is like, and in the duel scene,
uh-huh,
in the duel episode, which was previous, like that was
uh-huh.
a big thing. Like Anna was like, Abe, you've never killed anyone. You don't want to fucking start here, kind of stuff. So yeah, he really doesn't want to pull the trigger. He's promising Baker, like, dude, just I'll leave. I'll run.
I'll
You'll never
leave,
see me
never
again.
come back.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was a really nice emotional moment. But he does shoot him. And as he's dying, he's like, look, just stay alive. Like, I'm sorry. Like, but reason I'm bringing that up is because Mary immediately, and I mean immediately, is like, look, here's the story. Some rebels came into our yard. Mr. Baker saw them, tried to shoot them. They shot him, but they let us go because of the boy. She came up with like the most elaborate, understandable story, like completely reasonable story. And she was like, I know how to clean up a mess. And I just wanted to give her mad spy points for like immediately figuring out how to clean. Like, oh, that's right. And they burned down the son of the magistrate's house so that way they could like get rid of the body. And I really really like. The only thing that bothered me is though, if the story is they ran through the yard and Mr. Baker spotted them and was going to try and get them, she should have moved the body outside of the house if they're going to burn the house down. They're not going to, like, the rebels aren't going to take the body into the house and burn it, unless it's like a super dick. Maybe they would. But anyway, I just wanted to give Mary mad spy points for just like on the fly, like boom, boom, boom. This is what we're doing. I'm your wife. Like I can handle this, and I'm gonna, she. That's what I like about her character. She is like the wife. She cares about her family. She cares about her husband, even though her husband's like fucking around on her. On top of being a spy, that she's kind of like come figured out, and but she's still like sticks through it. This, like, for the family, this is what we need to do. Boom, boom. Like, I already got it figured out. Just follow my instructions. And yeah, anyway.
So a couple points on this, if I may. Um, One, I really want to underline. I really liked Baker. Uh, it's nice of the show to give us a sympathetic redcoat character and not just paint them
Yeah.
all as fucking psychopath Simcoe types or,
Yeah.
super hidebound royalists like Hewlett. And, he had his story about, did you remember he was an orphan? Like
Who, Simcoe?
no, Baker.
Oh no. Oh, I
Yeah.
totally forgot about that.
Yeah,
Wow, they really poured on the sympathy for Baker.
they did. They did. And I fucking lapped up every little fucking last bit of it. Like
Oh.
he didn't grow up in a house like this. So this is his first like experience of seeing what family life could have been like if
Uh-huh.
it hadn't been for the tragic instances of his fate or whatever. So
Hmm.
yeah. I really shed a, not an actual tear, but um a psychic tear for him getting killed in this
Yeah.
way. But over to Mary. um I'm not sure. I feel like, well, I got pros and cons on this. I'll go with the cons first. I've seen this scene before. I've seen the wife character that just seems kind of helpless, tossed amongst the waves, of fate, and just forces beyond her control, and she can't fucking have a happy life or whatever. Like, just suddenly turn into this steely badass fucking uber brainiac that can
Right.
like 3D chess out, when I guess it's like the mother, it's some version of the mama bear story
Uh-huh.
that when like you might be a woman in a situation where you don't have a lot of control over things, but when the chips are fucking down and your family's at stake, like you just absolutely fucking rise above and become some mental version of the Incredible Hulk and lift the car off the person.
Well, no, I mean, like women at the time were like, like they, they didn't have much of a voice, right? Compared to now, and a lot of what they did, like, had to be like indirect, right? So she would have been someone that understood a story, and like, and if she's like keeping the house together, while Abe's being a spy and fucking some other chick, right? Like I believe like, that's why you're lying. I know how to clean up a mess, right? I'm sure like there's rumors about her husband like banging like Anna and shit like that, and there's that whole like side of society of gossip, and storytelling. So I feel it's very believable that she could come up with the story that quickly. But I do think you do have a point where it's just like
Okay,
this character has been
I'm not saying it's unbelievable. I'm just saying it wasn't set up. This is a payoff that didn't have a setup, that
right.
she was secretly this smart. I'm happy to see her character rise up into a higher role of prominence in the story, which I have watched a little bit of season 2. She's definitely like a lot more engaged and has more agency in
Uh,
that, and I'm happy to see it. I just that I just want to. I'm not trying to douse your fire. I'm just
right.
throwing like one little damp cloth into it.
Oh,
that
okay.
that
Okay. Yeah, yeah,
I
no.
didn't feel it was set up enough.
Right, right. Yeah, no,
Um,
that makes sense. She definitely wasn't a big character. She just kind of was there to like, yeah, you're right. They kind of just made her as like the like naggy wife that was just like the ball and chain for him, and he's our protagonist, and it's just like, oh, why can't he just be with Hannah? And no, you're right.
right,
It's
and there's
I'm
there's only so much of that we can tolerate. I
right,
mean, she can't just be weepy, weepy, like why me, wowsy,
yeah,
wowsy, woo woo
right.
character, forever. But this is her moment. These last couple episodes of this season is where she's going to rise up, and I think she's going to play a more important part in season 2. As far as this plan goes, you're right. Or the story goes. It is very elaborate. It's a lot. I guess it does make sense. I think I could have come up with a simpler one. I think I could have just dragged the guy out into the woods and said some of the Continentals on their way back, he saw some torches. He went out there. We heard some gunshots, and then we were afraid. And
Well,
then
they have to
in the
burn the house
morning,
down
why?
because there was blood all over the door. Like, I don't think they had like bleach back then. Well, I mean, they also didn't have forensics back then, but like, you can't have. There was blood everywhere, right? So I mean, like, I don't know. The house would have been. I don't know how fast they could have cleaned that up. And I think burning the house down might have been the best story. But you're right. They could have just pulled him out there and say that they burned the house down. That's what I'm
I
saying.
think
Like, why did they leave the
I think if
body in
I'm
the
it,
house?
I now I'm not saying I'm as smart as she is in this moment, but I think if I was as smart as she is in this moment, I think I could have come up with a simpler plan that didn't involve burning down everything they fucking own. But now I'm gonna circle back around and
Uh
like triple cross you.
huh.
She always wanted for them to live in Whitehall with his dad.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
She was never happy with this situation.
Right.
So okay, so I'm going down, or I'm going up and then down, but then up again on the
Yeah, right.
tradecraft that she's
Yeah.
doing. You see
That's a
what
good point.
you see what I'm
Yeah, no,
saying? Like
I,
she's getting what she wanted. She didn't want this cabbage farmer shit. She wants, dude. Also, like, what? I guess it's this world, but in what world is it like oh, if you flunk out of law school, well, I guess it's off to be a cabbage farmer. Like in in modern society, there's a little bit of a distance between fucking lawyer and cabbage farmer.
Right?
But in this one, apparently there's not, which might go to, just I don't know if it's intended, but commentary, or maybe that's just the fact of this era, being that stratified.
Hmm.
That you're either, practicing law in New York, or you're digging maggots out of your fucking cabbage crop and saying, God damn it, they're all fucking rotten
Yeah.
again. Guess I have to do
Right.
some smuggling.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. But yeah, she burns his code book. I think I only have one other note for this show regarding tradecraft, and
Uh-huh.
that is that Roberts, at one point, it was an episode we didn't talk about directly, but remember there was a murder of a captain very early in the series. Actually, I think that was in episode 1. And Roberts was in town at the time when Abe and Roberts found out who it was. And so
Mhm.
it's this one guy, like this one kind of really Weasley looking guy. Do you still see him hanging around? I do.
I didn't see
Anyways,
it in episode 10,
and,
but I know which guy you're talking about.
okay,
That like creepy wormy guy. That he was in the
right.
tavern, right?
So I just wanted to mention, like, Roberts set that guy up. Like, there's another spy in this show that we haven't seen do anything, and it's
Yeah.
that guy. Robert said, you're going to be my fucking spy from here on out. Well, what is
Right.
this guy doing? Is he sending out any information? I mean, it's fine. I'm not saying that we need that, or that it's a mistake of the show that we don't know what's going on with that. Just to point out that there is another uh spy story happening that we as an audience have not yet become privy to.
Wow.
So I'm looking forward to some payoff for that setup in later seasons.
Hell yeah. Um, I think that's about it. There was a cool scene with Rogers and Andre, but I don't really know that there was anything to talk about in that. Other than the joke where Andre offers him some alcohol, and
Oh,
Rogers is like, "I'm trying to quit,"
I'm
and then
trying to quit.
and Andre's like, "Sherry or physics?" Yeah, and
Oh yeah. Oh
he
my god.
makes like a
Oh,
physics joke. Yeah.
that was a good one. One of the other best jokes in the season, if we're going to talk about good jokes, and I don't remember exactly how it went, but it's when Caleb and Anna met in the barn, and she says something like, I guess, kind of high minded or something. And he says, well, I never went to Yale, but I did fuck a girl that like was a secretary of an English professor once or something. Like,
That's pretty fucking
and then
funny.
right, and then like later in that same exchange, oh, because she wants to be like active, and do some stuff, and he says, no, 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 you can't, because you're a woman. It's too dangerous. And she's like, oh, what? Like, oh, you men just think like women are like, for nothing better than for suffering your bulk upon us when we're not improving your English.
Right.
That was a fucking dastardly good uh, joke exchange. Um, yeah, let's land this plane. We're over an hour. I've been having fun talking about the episode. I don't think there's anything else specific we want to talk about this episode.
No, no, I'm good. I got all my notes out.
Let's rate it. Let's rate this
Oh,
season.
rate the show.
Yeah.
Oh, let's see. I really, really liked it, especially this season. So I'm gonna go with a 4 on this one. There's some things that bothered me that kind of were a little hokey. But this is definitely a worthwhile watch. So I'm definitely giving it a 4.
Right. I think I gave it away in our very first episode. This is a 5 for me. It's a total 5. When I finished watching the season, I immediately went back and started watching it again because I wanted to catch all the stuff that I had maybe missed.
Nice.
Um, I think this is the best. Okay, I'm a science fiction guy, so when you talk about my favorite shows of all time, they're all going to be science fiction. You're going to see Star Trek, you're going to see Battlestar Galactica, that kind of shit.
Right.
When it just comes to drama, I guess I don't absorb a lot of drama. I gotta drop my pants for Sopranos, and I gotta ride for The Wire.
Mm.
Um, Now those are both like modern. This is a period piece, and that's part of what I really like about it. Like the feeling, I really feel that like this show puts me in, like I feel immersed in
Mm.
this piece of history. Um, and God help me if, by the end of it, like 90% of what I know about the Revolutionary War is from this show, but that's probably going to be the case. So I'll probably wander around with at least some misconceptions,
Mhm.
but I love this show. It's absolutely a 5 for me. Um, what about its tradecraft accuracy?
I
What we
want
like to
to.
call in this show a park bench rating.
Yep.
Of course, the park bench maybe had not been invented yet. I'm sure
Well,
they
they had
had park benches.
chairs and they had gardens, but I don't know that like the idea of the park
I think
was
I think
around.
I think they had.
A
I,
garden
I don't think there
bench.
were public parks. I think that there were, on his Majesty's estate, his
Yeah.
honor's estate, there
Yeah.
was a nice garden and there were some nice benches, but they had privacy there anyway, so it's not really a park bench. I'm sure they
Hmm.
had benches, but they didn't have parks. That's what I think. Anyways,
Yeah.
it goes from 1 to 5. What do you think? What do you think the show deserves? How
I,
accurate
I,
is the
I kind
spycraft
of
here?
I kind of want to go with a 5 here because we're I don't know how accurate this is historically spycraft wise, but I want to really like hammer down on this that there's so much fundamental tradecraft that goes on in this show. Like I really want to give it that 5, but I will understand any uh, contradiction, or I guess any arguments to drop it down to maybe a 4 or 4.5. But this definitely should get a high rating.
I am totally with you. I think I was writing for a 5 over most of the, ever since we started watching it, to be
Mm-hmm.
honest. Um just at the last minute thinking about it today, I think the egg thing is bullshit. I think there's some things that are have to be being kind of manipulated either for dramatic purposes or for some other reason. I don't know. I would not be unhappy with a 5, but maybe it's a 4.5. um I Can you think of it, the egg? Okay, I'll just put out the egg thing and say that's an example of, okay, that didn't really happen, or at least we have no proof of it, right?
Yeah,
Can you
but
think
they
of
do
if
do the lemon juice thing, don't they? Or is that later? I'm sorry if I'm spoiling, but
Oh
they
yeah,
did do the
no, we
lemon
haven't.
juice thing.
No, we haven't seen the lemon juice thing, which is like the secret message stuff that we all learn in fucking third grade. um, but yeah, if like what I want to do here is just ask you if you can think of the single worst piece of tradecraft that you can think of from Turn, and decide whether or not that's good enough to drag it down from a 5 to a 4.5.
Well, one of the bad ones was Caleb and Talmadge talking in front of Simcoe. Like that's not even just bad trade craft. That's like bad captive craft and interrogation craft.
Yeah, but I think it's believable. Like,
Oh, that's yeah,
by the
that's true.
egos of the characters. It's not something that it's not technically incorrect. It's just like, oh, bad move.
Right. And I guess protocols like that hadn't been established yet. I mean, I would like to think so, because it's not like the Continental Army just fucking like just showed up out of nowhere. Like we all came from England, like not all of us, but well, I didn't either. But like the United States of America, most of the colonists were British, right? Like you would think like the men and women that like were well learned, like doesn't like Yale and Harvard like out like the like are older than the country type of thing. Like these were established universities. These all came from like well educated families. Like it wasn't just the debt owners and the fucking criminals that were sent here, right? You know, I would like to think that there must have been some sort of protocol in British engagement that like don't fucking say stupid shit in front of your captives. But I mean, who knows? But you're right. I
Can
mean,
I can I
it's
give you
believable for.
can I read out some examples?
Uh,
I'll give you 4 examples of films that we've given a 4.5 to, and one that we've given a 5. Our
okay.
4.5s previously have been Spy Sorge,
Hmm.
which feels very much like akin to this one to me. Battle of
Right.
Algiers
Uh huh.
also feels like a match. Tinker Tailor and Pine Gap. Those are our 4.5s. Do you remember
Oh, and
what
our
our
only five was Day of the Jackal, and Day of the Jackal was like almost not even a movie. It was like a it was like an instructional video as far as I'm concerned. Like they
I
tried to
agree.
make a
I agree.
story, but it was like,
Day
yeah,
of the Jackal, I agree. I stand firm with our 5 on that. That
yeah,
tradecraft that's demonstrated is unassailable.
yeah. And as much as Battle of Algiers is treated like an instructional video, it had its own. Yeah, you know what? I think you've convinced me. A 4.5 is pretty good.
We're not going to give it the 5. We're not going to give it the gold star.
No, no, because now that you brought up Day of the Jackal, this doesn't even compete. You know what I mean? Like Day of the Jackal is practically like an instructional video,
The Day of
like
the Jackal.
assassin.
The Day of
Yeah,
the Jackal. Undefeated as our only 5 park bench rating. We're giving Turn Season 1 a 4.5.
yeah,
We've
that feels
told
good.
we've told you what we think about Turn, Washington's Spies. How can we? I'd really love to hear what our audience thinks about the show.
Please,
How would
because
they do that, Dave?
I have seen the emails and I have seen like the likes on some of our posts, and I can tell the people that are listening to us would really love something like Turn. So please shoot us an email at spieslikeus.net on the contact page, or you could tweet us spies underscore like us, or on facebook.com/spies like us podcast. And I think Todd and I would jump for joy if we got something from
Oh yeah,
anyone
we'd
about Turn.
100% interact with you. We love talking. Obviously, we love talking about spy movies. If you have any
Yeah.
comments, like let us know, and also let us know what you want us to cover. We have a list. I mean, oh my god,
An enormous,
we've done
an
2 years
enormous list.
stuff, and I guarantee you, we have like 6 years more of spy movies that and TV shows that we could do.
Yeah.
So it would really be a help if people jumped in and said, like, you need to talk about Confessions of a Nazi Spy or Dishonored or whatever it is,
Right.
or The Prisoner. I'm looking forward to getting to The Prisoner.
Yeah.
As always, also, like, even if you're not like, you don't want to do the work of going on Twitter and saying like, hey guys, you are stupid, this show sucks, which we would even that's how craven we are for attention. We would engage with you. Let's get in a Twitter fight. Or you could physically just tell someone if you like this show, chances are someone else in your life that would like this show. Recommend it to them. And
At a park bench.
You can't do it at a park bench. If you're in 1776, you would have to invent parks first. Coming up next, it's gonna be I'm another one. I'm pretty fucking excited. You haven't watched it yet, right?
No, I'm gonna watch it probably tomorrow or Monday.
Okay, I hope so.
I'm really excited.
Where Eagles Dare, 1968, a story, a mostly action movie, but you're gonna find a beating heart of spycraft at the middle of it that'll make you question a whole bunch of shit. We're gonna have a fuck ton of fun talking about this one. I predict.
And then also, if you haven't already, please subscribe to our podcast. Any podcast app you can think of, just search Spies Like Us podcast and shoot us a subscribe. And we'll see you next week for Where Eagles Dare.
The preceding transmission sampled the song Enter the Party by Kevin MacLeod, and sound effects from freesound.org. Attributions and links are found at spieslikeus.net.